Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Man, I'm in a little bit different spot, and the reason is it's because it's where I've been spending all my time. This is our brand new pecan shop up here, and my camera guy Alex, I just said, hey man, stop here. This is where I'm at. We're doing this kind of after business hours. I still got a lot of work here to do. And I'll tell you a little bit about it at the end of the video, but I'm really proud of it. We got a brand new Edwin Evers pecan store here. We're selling fudge and homemade pies and of course a lot of pecans and gifts. But let's get to it. The top 3 baits for November. These are going to be a little bit different, and we got a bonus bait. I'm really excited about it to share with you guys the 3 baits for November. And as always, we give these baits away. December video, we'll give these November baits away. One of you guys could be a winner. You guys stay tuned. As always, with our top 3 baits of the month, it's a sponsored deal by Plano. And, we talked a lot about Plano Edge box. They make a phenomenal Edge, terminal box. But this month, I want to talk about a little bit more affordable terminal box. It's just a terminal tackle stowaway by Plano. It's just a more affordable option to that Edge, and it's what I always used to use before the Edge came out. But it's just got all the spots for your hooks and weights and swivels and that stuff. I'll be mailing 3 of these out to 3 of you guys. It's a really, really cool box. But let's get off into the baits, okay? I think in November, and man, the fish are all over the map for me in November. Obviously there's a shallow water bite. There's stuff happening shallow, but I don't want to forget about the deep bite. So I've kind of got some baits going both directions. So the first bait, like I'm going to a brand new lake, or you hadn't been out in a while, maybe you've been deer hunting, you got your deer and you're going to go start fishing, towards the end of November. The first bait I'm going to tie on and that I'm going to throw and I'm going to cover a bunch of water is a slobber knocker. Yes, I'm going to throw it. It's going to be up shallow. These fish are feeding up. These fish, I don't feel like feed down. I feel like they feed on a lot of shad in November leading up to the winter and getting colder. They're just trying to eat as much as they can. And there's no better bait that imitates, I'm not going to say that because that's probably not true. There's no better bait that I can cover water with. And that's why I'm going to throw that. It imitates a shad really well. I put that power stinger on there and it's golden. I'm going to throw a 1/2 ounce, 20-pound fluorocarbon. I've switched these all over now to cranking sticks. That 7.3 heavy action cranking stick, it works perfect for it. A 6/8 to 1 gear ratio rod. I'm going to hold my rod up. I'm going to really pay attention to when my bite comes. Is that bait higher in the water column? Is that bait down in the water column? Is it when I speed it up, those last 10 feet to make another cast? Really pay attention to all those little details because they matter so much in the fall. The speed of the bait and the depth in the water column. And this bait right here, I can just cover a lot of water. I can get a lot of bites. I do have 3 colors. That's going to be my number 1, the herring color. It's just a really good all-around color in clear water. The black blue, when I'm in dirty water, it's just a bait they can see. I feel like they can see it better, the black blue. And then I've got a bluegill color right here that works really well also in some super clear water. There's just days that I want that bluegill color, a really sunny, bright day. Maybe if I'm seeing a lot of bluegill up in the water column, maybe I'm seeing bluegill on stumps or the ends of dock poles, that bluegill colored one right there works really, really well. Another bait right there on those same lines, guys, and it's just a bait that you have to have tied on in November. I don't care if you're in Florida, Oklahoma, Missouri, wherever it is, it's a lipless crankbait. And I've got 3 different ones here. I got the 3/4 ounce, I got the 1/2, and I got the 1/4. I'm going to throw the 1/4 when I feel like they're really keying in on shad. If I feel like I'm seeing lots of schooling action in the backs of pockets, that 1/4 ounce bait, just a smaller profile, that's when I throw it. Just when I can't get them to bite another one, that's when I throw it. That 1/2 ounce is my go-to. Again, I can cover water, over the top of grass. It's one of the best months to throw a lipless crankbait. A lot of people think, man, spring. Man, for me, I've caught them just as good in November on that lipless crankbait, that 1/2 ounce. And then I tied that 3/4 ounce on. There are times when they are blowing up on all that shad and like you've tried that 1/4 and you've tried all these small stuff. I tie that big one on, good catch. I tie that big one on and I burn that thing home, dirt shallow, and it just triggers a big bite. It's a big presence of a big bait. It's heavy enough that I can reel it really fast and it can stay down in the water column. Most of the time, I'm going to throw that like on big line because I'm reeling it really, really fast. On that 1/4 ounce, I'm going to throw that like on 14-pound test for most of the time. If I'm trying to keep it up high in the water column, I'll go to 17 or 20. And then the same thing with that 1/2 ounce. It's going to be on a 17-pound test, 20-pound test. It's up in the water column. The bigger the line, the higher, the more resistance it has coming through the water, and it keeps that bait up in the water column. And that's just important. I just think a lot of times both those baits, you want to try to keep it above the bass. Bass don't feed down on shad. They just don't. I should, somehow one of these days, I'm going to integrate some videos of me feeding my bass in my aquarium. And they feed up. Like if one ever gets below them, they do not eat it. That thing goes all the way to the bottom. And if you take anything from this video, remember, try to keep your baits above the bass. They just do not feed on shad going down towards the bottom very, very often. It's like 10-to-1 in my aquarium. If nothing else is going on and I can take my hands down here and get their attention in my aquarium, I can get one of them to swim down there and see that minnow as it's going down towards the bottom. But for the most part, they always feed up. So always keep that in mind. All right, I got 2 more baits here. I want to tell you about them. I don't know which one I want to talk about first. I'm going to talk about this one first. This is not just a deep water bait, but I got a 1/2 head little Berkley jig head, 1/8 ounce. I like this smallmouth color. It's kind of like a brown and white. I just feel like it looks like an eyeball. I like it better than just the straight white jig head. But I'll pair it with just a Pro Series twitch tail, just straight white, pearl white or white. I really like it a lot. It's a 3-inch bait. I'm going to throw this on 8-pound test on a spinning rod with 10-pound braid. And when those fish are schooling and you can't get them to eat that 1/4 ounce trap, or you can't get them to eat those other smaller baits, or those fish are suspended out off the ends of docks, or they're suspended on the tops of brush piles, you just want to get bites. That is a bait you can throw. And you just throw it out there and you just kind of twitch it and reel it back up again in that water column. You'd be amazed at how many bites. Like in my pond, my fish in my pond are so educated, like I can put that bait on there and I can go catch 4 or 5. I can go throw a square bill and vibrating jig and all these other things, and I can't get any bites. All these other baits that make so much noise. But that bait right there, it's just one of those things that they can't resist because it looks so real in the water. It just truly, truly is. The mistakes I see people making with that style of bait is too big a line or too heavy of a head. 1/8 ounce, 3/16 ounce, that's as big as you ever need to go. Don't get in a hurry. If you're fortunate enough to have that forward-looking sonar, really watch that bait. You can really control the depth of it. The mistake that I've made a bunch, don't let it get too close to those fish. Let the watercolor dictate how close you're going to get. And with this type of bait, it's a clear water bait. So, you see it coming down and you see that fish, a lot of times I'm going to start it like 5, 6, 7 feet above the fish. And if I don't get a reaction out of a fish, then the next time I'll keep it 3 or 4 feet above it. A mistake I've made is like trying to keep it a foot above it. You'll actually spook those fish. So make that fish, I want it to be just where he can barely see it. You got to think about that water clarity and like, I want it to be out on the verge. You think of the movie Jaws and like, you see something coming up there and in the last second, you realize it's Jaws, that's what I want it to think about that. Like when you're fishing for bass, I want it to be right on the verge of his eyesight. He's like, yeah, there's one up there. If I have it too close, he can see it instantly. He can see that it's not real. If I have it just on that verge, then he just comes up and gets it really quick. So think about that also and experiment with the distance that you keep that bait. And that's with a lot of other baits. That could be a jerk bait, crankbait, any of those other things that you're bringing above a fish's head, the Alabama rig. You want it to be just on the verge of their eyesight, and the same thing with that. So a great bait November, December, January. It's going to be one we're going to be using, anytime you're targeting those deep fish. And it's a bait that will also work, shallow. In my pond, I can catch fish on it, off docks, in and around docks. Like if you just want to get bites, it's just a great bait to get bites. Last, it's the time when I start throwing these H&Es. Like, for me, towards the end of November, a cold front, fishing on the bottom, I start throwing that H&E outside that grass edge. Those fish really target that outside grass edge. There's no better bait to throw than an H&E. Throw it on 12 or 14 pound test. I don't really ever throw it on much bigger than that. When I'm fishing it out deep, I will throw that big 1 ounce version, up shallow. I'll throw it on 17 or 20 pound tests, if I'm pitching it, around stumps or, dock poles or those kinds of things. It's got a big hook. It's a reaction bait, let it go to the bottom, hop it up off the bottom. But for the most part, when I'm throwing that 1/2 ounce or that 3/4 ounce, I'm going to throw it on a lighter line, and I'm throwing that bait out deep, 12, 16, 18, 20 feet deep, out off a break or a grass line or something like that. It's just, for me, it's the time of year when that bait starts to shine again. I love that bait like in May and June, July, and then when we get in the fall, fish get kind of finicky. It's just a great, I think it's the action of how subtle it is. I think when the water temperature starts to get a little cooler and you start to notice how much slower everything's moving, like a shad. Every time when I see shad around my boat, I am trying to look at, I try to picture that shad. Is it wobbling wide? Is it tight? Is it moving fast? Is it real slow movements? And then I try to pick baits like that. And for me, a lot of times that H&E, in that colder water, it's just a slower moving type bait, for when the metabolism of the bass, the bass's forage, the shad, the bluegill, when they start slowing down, that's when I think that bait works well, especially in the fall. So I got 3 different colors. This is one of my all-time favorites right here, just the HD brown crawl, just a great green pumpkin type, crawdad looking type bait. Another one of my favorites is the HD bluegill. You can never go wrong with that. It's got a little bit of chartreuse on the tail. And then, just the chartreuse shad, that 1 ounce, that's probably one of my favorite baits. Can't tell you how many big fish I've caught on that 1 ounce bait. This one or a black and blue or the brown crawdad. I wanted to put black and blue in there, but I just felt for like this video and this time of the year that the black and blue for me is more of a real dirty water type bait. But so guys, that's some baits that I'm going to have tied on in November as I start transitioning from this shop and getting my pecan harvest done. It's all brand new. I think we've got some really good help hired. I am in here a bunch, especially on weekends. But these are some baits I'm going to have tied on as I start to get to fish a little bit later here in November. A little bit about the shop, guys. Really, really excited about it. We got all the equipment in the back to crack and shell pecans. We've got a great crop. We've got lots of great gifts. Like if you guys ever want to send gifts out to family members or to all your employees of your business, we can custom label those for you. We got really cool ones. We got small, medium, large. Obviously they got pecans in it. Lots of goodies in there that make great Christmas gifts. And if you guys are in the area, we got homemade pies and homemade fudge that I'm really proud of. My wife is a great cook, and we're sharing that with the world and some of the stuff she's doing. We got really neat recipes on the pecan pies. They're like super good. I don't want to give a lot away on it. There's a couple older ladies here in the community that shared their recipes with us, and we got 2. We got a white sugar recipe and a brown sugar recipe, and they're just phenomenal. It's so hard to work in here and have all these smells under your nose. But if you're in there, you come through, you can get a picture with the trophies. We got both the classic trophy and the Red Crest trophy in here, and would love to visit with you and shake your hand. So, all right, with all that said, let's get to the winner. We went through here randomly, and we picked Billy Williams 3527. The comment he said on my October video was, I finally got my first topwater of the year, and now he has the fever. So man, Billy, I'm sorry that topwater bite came so late in the year, but I'm glad you finally got it. He needs to work up some confidence with glide baits, but I'm sure it's going to be fun. So Billy, just send me an email through my edwinevers.com fishing website. Give me your address. I will get my wife to ship these out to you as soon as I get that. It's going to be the baits from last month. We said we're going to pick one winner last month, and Billy, you are the winner. So you guys leave a comment. We'll do 3 winners this next month. I just got some really good baits here, 3 Plano Terminal boxes. We will mail them out to you guys. So appreciate you guys following along in the channel. Sorry I'm a few days late with this one, but we're getting it out to you, and appreciate all the support.